My main thing left and my side thing switched up. It's better that way. I was getting them mixed up. Main thing left, side thing switched up. It's better that way. I was getting them mixed up. Main thing left and my side thing switched up. It's better that.
Welcome back to the Freelance Network podcast, everybody. A podcast by content creators for content creators. Woo! Shout out to the sign. We miss our sign. It's stuck in the Stockton building. So today, me and Cassie are here. It's quarantine still, so we hope you're all staying home because you should be. Social distancing is lit. And so going forward, our next few episodes, we're going to be kind of showcasing people who are either still creating during this or because of this have been stopped from creating, because it's the reality for our worlds right now is we're either stopped from whatever we were doing because it's outside our homes, or we're lucky enough to keep doing it in our homes. So Cassie, what's up? How you doing?
I'm doing good. I'm getting a little stir crazy. I definitely want to leave the house, but I can't. I don't know. I walked the other day. It was fantastic. I saw a butterfly. Living the dream.
Living the dream. That's great. So today we are joined by our friend Reagan. Reagan, how are you today?
I'm good. How are you guys?
Oh, we are just living the dream here. We are living the dream. So, Reagan, talk to us. How did you get into content creating?
Okay. So I guess it started with theater. So I grew up, honestly, not really caring about TV and what I mainly do now, but all I cared about was theater. It was like Broadway, musicals. I was that kid. And I can't sing for the life of me. I can't act for the life of me. So my friend was like, why don't you join stage crew? She's like, it's behind the scenes. You're still super involved. And so I started with that. And from there, it kind of just progressed. I fell in love with it. And I was like, okay, like I can do this for a really long time. And I did it for, I think, 4 or 5 years. I was doing stage crew for. Yeah.
So then you ended up at Stockton, and is that where you kind of found TV, or did you find it somewhere else?
Yeah, so, initially, my last year doing stage crew, I was a stage manager, which, looking back at it now, is very similar to what I want to do now. I didn't realize it at the time, and I kind of teetered away from theater. Like, I kind of was not comfortable in the environment anymore. It just wasn't working, and I decided I wanted to go into TV, but I was like, I have no idea, like, in what capacity, what I wanted to do, what I wanted to work, what field I wanted to be a part of, if it was film, live TV, pre-recorded. And I ended up going to Stockton, and I took TV production, and like that was like the switch. Like I took it and I was like, okay, this is it. Like I know, like this is what I want to do. This is what I want to stick with.
Yeah, I feel like that's like the switch for pretty much everyone in TV. It's like they had no idea, and then they took TV production once, and then all of a sudden,
yeah,
exactly. It's a great thing to realize too, because some people like don't realize it until like 3 or 4 years into college, and they're like, oh, maybe I'll do this. But like we definitely knew, and yeah.
Yeah, that was my biggest fear. Was like, am I gonna go into college and not know what I want to do, and it's gonna be too late? So I think, it's funny how it ended up happening because, I mean, like you guys know just from being with me, but I want to direct, like that's my main thing. And when we were in TV production, I was terrified of directing. I was like, there's no way you're going to get me to do that. And there was one day where like we were practicing a TV, like our newscast or whatever, and it was not working. Like nothing was working that was broadcast. And the guy who was directing, he was like, hey, he's like, can someone switch with me, please? And no one wanted to switch. And I don't know what came over me, but I'm like, I'll do it. Like, that's what it is. I'm like, I'll just do it. And as soon as I did it, I did my first broadcast, and I looked over at our teacher, our professor, and I was like, yep, I'm fine with this. I'll stay in this position now. And that was pretty much it. I was like, okay.
See, ladies and gentlemen at home, that is what we like to call growth. Reagan was afraid of directing, and now it's literally all she wants to do.
Yep.
Yeah, no, and for context too, Reagan did the TV internship that I've talked about like 17 times on this podcast with me. She did it with me and Gianni. We've talked about, the internship.
And Jordan.
Yes.
Yes.
But it's funny because Reagan was the only one out of all of us in the internship that ever directed. Like none of us ever directed except for Reagan and Jordan because, she works for it. But Reagan was the only student that like stepped up because we were just too terrified to do and or wanted to work on other positions. But yeah, it was like, all right, we're picking positions this week. I'm TD, whatever, I'm audio. And then Reagan's like, oh, I guess I'm director now.
It really was, but it was good. I never really wanted to, I was cool doing the other positions. Like I liked doing B-roll and stuff like that, but directing was always like the one that I looked forward to the most.
What drew you to directing?
I literally have no clue. That was like the whole thing was like when I was like, I'll just do it. It was just in the moment and I don't know what it was. It just kind of happened. And I was like, I did it that first time and it's so quick. And I don't think I ever realized how quick it is and how much you need to kind of call it. I don't really know how to describe it. It's so weird. It's like you're calling something, you're calling the cues and stuff, and it's happening so fast. And I think it's just the pacing of it, just the kind of how you go about it is just kind of what drew me to it. Just kind of the energy that you have to bring with it and how you're working with a team and everyone's working together and just kind of seeing how the pieces kind of come together to make a show.
Yeah, I was going to say, there's got to be something that gets you to keep coming back to it, which is awesome because I know I've directed in a TV studio before and it is fast. It's fun though.
Yeah, that's what I always joke. I'm like, it feels like, I don't want to say I'm blacking out, but that's what it feels like sometimes. Where
yeah,
you're like,
in a way.
It's like, I feel like I'm completely aware of like everyday things up until we start rolling. And once we start rolling, it's like tunnel vision. It's like, it's just the show and what you're calling and stuff like that. And it's like, almost like you get out of it and you're like, well, that was crazy, but really fun at the same time. And that's kind of, I think, what keeps on bringing me back to it is just the fun that you have while doing it, going through the cues and stuff like that.
Yeah, and when you're in that position, you're in charge of literally everybody else in the studio. So it's like you have to be focused and know what you're doing in that moment, or like everybody else gets screwed up. So it's like it's a very powerful position. So like when you can do it and execute it correctly, like it's an amazing feeling. So yeah, no, it's definitely a great career choice for you because you're very, very detail oriented and you're able to direct us correctly. So
yeah, I try.
And
I mean, it helps having a crew.
The two of you guys also work together kind of hand in hand because the director and the TD have to work together a lot.
Yeah, and Cass was great to work with. She knows that, but it's literally like she was great because like again, like she knows I get again like it's that quick pace, and sometimes I over anticipate a little bit. It's all like you're learning. You've never directed before. It's gonna happen, but like. You have a great TD and they're there to kind of be like to help you out and just to know that like you have the support of someone who's solid on switcher to know that like, okay, if I do fall, like I have someone who can work with me and like help me out with that. And Cass was great with that, obviously.
Thank you. Yeah, no, I mean, as a TD, you kind of have to get used to your director. And since we both had that position most of the internship, I started getting used to like what cues I thought you were going to do. And I was able to anticipate your next step. So I think that that's like a good dynamic to have between a director technical director, because if you have a TD who has no idea what they're doing and they press the wrong button, the whole production gets screwed up. So
yeah, and I think that might be one of the harder things is when you get that curveball that kind of like it gets tossed in there. And for me, that's something that I always want to make sure that I'm solid with is you get thrown that curveball, like how quickly can you recover and how seamlessly can you recover from that? And it helps when you have a really solid crew around you that you can try and do what you can to get back on track and know that your crew is following through and executing the way they need to just to make the overall production as well-rounded as possible.
Yeah. Teamwork, baby. We love it. We love it. And I mean, hey, at this rate, like everybody from that internship is just showing up on this podcast at some point. We're just knocking them out one by one. But yeah, so that's not the only internship you've done though. You did another one at a little known company in a little known city, right?
Yeah, tiny place. It's really.
So why don't you talk about that one a bit?
Yeah, so I've been interning with NBC Sports in Philly for just about 2 months now, almost 3. So I've been with them for a little bit just to round out my senior year. Yeah.
So what do you do there?
So mainly the work that we do is archiving footage, logging footage, and then part of my favorite part of it, I mean, it's all my favorite, but assisting the media crew, camera crews and stuff like that for media availabilities and stuff like that, which has been really fun just to see the technical side in terms of camera work.
What was the process like getting into that internship? Because a lot of people who want to get into sports broadcasting, that like their local NBC Sports is like a huge destination for people. So what was that like?
Yeah, I mean, it's scary because in reality, there's so many people vying for that same position. And I think you really, for me, I know I was like kind of like, I was extremely nervous the whole time. I'm like, what does it take? Do I have enough on my resume? Do I know enough? Is this enough for them? And for me, it was just, and it's kind of hard when you're wanting to do live broadcasting. And a live broadcast requires a TV station, a crew. It requires a lot. And, that's not all really available to us, especially in South Jersey. So for me, it was making sure that the work that I did with Stockton and our internship was at its best. I ended up, trying to put in extra hours, offering volunteering when I could to just refresh and like learn more, touch up on what I could. And then when it came to being with them, just making sure that they understood your work ethic. I think that's huge. Like, to me, that's like the biggest thing. It's just understanding, like, showing them that even if you don't have the most experience or the longest resume, that you have what it takes to work in this environment, that you have that level of work ethic, that you're going to put this first and that you're going to be there, and just kind of showing that. So for me, that was really key. And just bringing up what's the word? Just like our B-roll, that like something that you already have, and just kind of making that available to them. Like, I have mine on a public website so that like people can go look at it, having that available so that like if people see that, they know and they can look through it and, figure out what they think. And so, yeah, so for me, it was big, just emphasizing work ethic and the importance of what I've already done. So, yeah. Pretty solid.
No, I mean, that's definitely, it's solid. And the internship that you got, like, it's competitive, and you were able to, pick up your bootstraps and get that internship. And like, I think I can speak for Luke too. Like, we were both like so proud of you. Like, when we found out.
Hell yeah, we were proud.
You were like obsessed with sports. So
yeah, wait, I was going to say too, contrary to popular belief, just because you love the sports team doesn't mean you're getting the internship. But it also happens that Reagan is one of the most diehard Philly fans, and she got the internship. It's all about the work ethic, folks.
Yeah.
The knowledge will keep you there, but like, you got to have that work ethic first.
Yeah, and one of the biggest things that I think I've been trying to stress in situations like this when talking to people about working in sports is like, yeah, I am in love with sports. Like, all I do is sports, it's everything. But it's so important to know what you're doing, because I don't work in sports, I work in TV. So the sports is the content, but you need to know what you're doing in terms of television. So I think like that's the thing that I think sometimes people get wrapped up with when it comes to sports and wanting to work in them, is like, I know everything about the team. Well, it's like, okay, but do you know everything you need to know about working in a control room or, working in the press box? Like, what do I think the skills that you need for your career is more valuable than the sports, but it is very valuable to know everything that you can, like, to know about the teams that you're working for.
I mean, to be fair, you could pull anybody from the stands at the games and they might know more than you about the team. But like you said, it's knowing the control room, knowing each and every station. Like Jordan, who was on the podcast before, she worked at Fanovision and Phillies. Like, you can't just be like, yo, I love the Phillies, and know how to work that gigantic board that is super up-to-date, fast-paced throughout the whole game. Like, it's not like that.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's a huge thing, because like I could say, like, I know as much as I can about the 2019 Philadelphia Flyers, but at the end of the day, is knowing, where whoever played in juniors, it's gonna help in terms of content that you're creating, but it's not gonna help me when I'm calling a game.
In your day-to-day job,
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, I was wondering too, if you're not allowed to talk about certain stories, that's fine, because this is big league stuff that she interns for. But is there any fun stories that have happened to you while there that you're allowed to talk about?
Yeah. I'm trying to think of a few. I know that there's one. I think it was my first day. So my first game was the Boston Philly Flyers, specifically the game where Marshawn whiffed on the puck. So obviously that was a huge game. Boston always brings out, like, when Boston's in town, New York, New Jersey, Pittsburgh, the Wells Fargo is packed. And lately it's been always packed, but those games specifically, this was like mid-January. It was my first day. We did that game. It was awesome. And I'm leaving work at like, it was probably like 11, I think, at this point. And I'm in the parking lot, and there's a bunch of people tailgating around my car. And, like, you know, I'm me, and I'm walking basically on I-95 alone at 11 o'clock at night, and there's a bunch of people around my car tailgating. So I was like, like, this is a little sketchy, like, you know, whatever. And they came over, and I just, like, walked over my car, and they were like, did you enjoy the game? And I was like, oh. I was like, yeah. And we basically, like, there was just this great group of Phillies fans that we just sat there and chatted for like 20 minutes about the game. And they were just talking about how much they love the team. And it was just I feel like the most Philly thing that could happen. So that one definitely was probably one of my favorite things to happen, just the people that are around you when you're going into work or when you're coming out and you see all these fans just kind of showing up. I'm trying to think of any other ones that I can say. I mean, just, again, like, the people. The fans, interacting with the fans is pretty fun too. Like, you don't really get to do it as much, but, like, when you are walking around, just kind of seeing kids is probably the most fun, is just kind of like seeing them interact just on the concourse. They just get super excited, and seeing them. We did an authentic fan night, and just seeing the kids get, like, really excited for the Sixers. One kid was, like, losing his mind because he got to see Franklin, the mascot for the Sixers. Kid was losing his mind, and it was, like, just the greatest thing. So I think being in that environment is pretty cool, just seeing the fans interact.
I would have lost my mind if I met Franklin too. I don't blame him at all.
Same.
Yep. I love Philly mascots. They're the best.
Yeah.
So that's super exciting. Unfortunately, because of everything that's going on, you did have to kind of pause that internship. But as the world figures itself out and hopefully fixes itself, hopefully you get to go back and start covering more games.
Yeah, I'm going to try. I've been doing it at home. I've been, like, trying to learn as much as I can watching old games. So I'm still watching a lot of sports, just old ones.
I was going to ask how you either finished the internship or if you're going back, like, how are they handling everything?
So for the most part, I'm still interning with them. We just are doing it remotely. So kind of like how our classes are right now, everything's just kind of remote. And then a lot of it's just from what I used to do when sports were functioning. A lot of what I like to do was I like to obviously watch the Philly games, but I always tried to watch other networks and other teams just to kind of get a feel of how they go about their show from a directing standpoint or from a producing standpoint. What do they cover? How do they handle certain situations? And so now I'm just trying to do that with different aspects with, like, older games. So, like, a lot of what I'm doing is, like, looking back on hat tricks. So seeing how different teams and different organizations handle hat tricks. And I'm not talking about, like, you know, the crazy hat tricks that are like, you know, Ovi having however how many, or Austin Matthews in his first game. I'm looking at, like, the basic ones that just happen in a season.
Some Joe Schmo who happens to have a hat trick.
Some Joe Schmo, yeah. Not that the hat tricks are easy, but just looking to see how like maybe MSG would do how would they go about, you know, Matt Barzal having a hat trick compared to maybe Colorado and Nate McKinnon having one. Like, what do they look at? How do they go about it? Do they go straight to the fans throwing the hats? Do they go to the teammates, the goalie? Like, who do they show? So just kind of learning the differences in how people go about things is just something that I'm trying to take in and learn from.
I think that's dope. I think it's a great use of time right now when we don't have any live sports, because I mean, we were talking about this before, how many years of history of sports there are. And, like, you're like, now I'm catching, like you said to me, I'm going to know all of sports by the time this is over, which I don't doubt at all, because I saw your Snapchat yesterday and you were studying more baseball statistics. This girl loves her baseball statistics.
But that's also a great candidate to have when you're interning for NBC Sports, because I've seen a lot of people intern and they know nothing about the sports. I mean, it's great to have, like, experience in a field that you're, like, kind of unknown and everything, and, like, as long as you know how to use the equipment, that's great. But when you have someone that's, one, good with the equipment, and two, knows pretty much everything about the sport, you have, like, a great candidate. And that's exactly why Reagan was picked, because I swear to God, every time we interned at the studio, we would walk in, sports talk, intern, sports talk. And I was just sitting there with a couple people that didn't really understand sports, and we were like,
It was bad. I remember I felt so bad. I think, Luke, you were there for this too.
Probably.
Opening day last year, Reese's Grand Slam, we were in the studio, and I remember I interrupted someone's conversation, and I was like, wait.
No, because I was talking to somebody, and I was wearing my Reese Hoskins jersey, and you were like, Luke, Reese just hit a grand slam because they intentionally walked Bryce. And then I just remember running up to Terrence and like screaming in his face. Sorry, Terrence. You probably don't listen to this, but if you are, sorry.
Yeah, that was a good time. Yeah, I think that's what not a lot of people I feel like have been surprised by everything.
See, it's funny too, one of the things you mentioned, how much you love the fans like at work. Like Reagan and I go to a ton of games together, like Flyers and Phillies, and every single time we go, somehow she upstages somebody in sports knowledge, and it's my favorite thing because these stupid men think she doesn't know anything about sports. Meanwhile, she knows more than 90% of people attending. And like some guy brings up some player, and then Reagan says some fact about him. They're like, that's not true. And they literally looked it up, and the guy turns around. He goes, she's smarter than me.
I think that's something that like just comes, I don't know, for me, I guess it's always been a thing where guys are like, you don't know what you're talking about. Like, you just like so-and-so. I'm like, no, I genuinely know. Like, I promise you, I'm here for the game.
And like, she's talking about hockey, and like, based off of what we've heard, sounds like she knows the sport very well. She started watching hockey in 2018. So like, y'all, this girl learns fast.
Yeah. Because I got like obsessed with it really quick.
Well, because that was when we all met in digital storytelling class. And
yeah.
I remember every single day, sports talk, then class, sports talk, then class. We would talk about Flyers hockey every single day, or Phillies baseball, because they were trying to make playoffs and they didn't and made us depressed. But it's okay. It's okay. Yeah. If 2020 happens, maybe they will. But yeah, no, that's kind of the theme of all of our classes at Stockton is just sports talk. Because if Mike Zabrisky's there, we're talking sports.
Oh, yeah.
It's going to happen. It doesn't even matter if he doesn't know the sport. He's like, he'll start with guys, I don't know baseball, but I'm in.
Yeah, I mean, it's just like the go-to topic. It's like when the room gets silent, someone's like, so football. Am I right? Like, it happens all the time at our school. I'm sure it happens other places, but it was like anytime there was like a lull in the conversation, someone was like, hockey though.
I mean, it was
my
me.
Favorite balls.
Yes. Well, see, that speaks to sports though, because when there isn't any, like, I don't know what to talk about now.
Yes. It really is. That's what like my hardest thing has been. It's like wake up and I'm like, there's no notifications, there's no updates. Like it's like the biggest.
Like before we started recording, I was like, Reagan, we were supposed to be like 3 games into the Phillies season right now, and we both just kind of looked down like sad.
That was a rough time. I miss them. I love baseball.
I saw someone tweet the other day, and they're like, now that I don't have sports, I actually have to talk about my feelings. And I was true.
I might feel attacked right now. I do. Ha ha ha. Sports, come back, please. So Reagan, bringing it back to this lovely interview and not feelings. Ha ha. I'm curious though. We kind of know, but like what would be like a ideal end goal for you?
It's tough because I mean, I kind of would love to. For me, obviously, like in terms of short term, I'd love to get a job.
Good
but
start.
Really, yeah, it's a good start. But right now, like I really want to direct. Like that's kind of where I'm at. I'd love to do game broadcasts. That's kind of like the dream is doing the day-to-day live game broadcast as a director. Of course, it's not a straight line to that, nor is it like the first step. And like, you know, it's not the easiest position to get to right away. So just kind of getting the steps to be there. But I would really love to kind of do that. I mean, and from there, you know, I don't really know what the future holds, obviously, in general, but love to direct and then from wherever that takes me. But directing right now is kind of where I want to be.
You're a brave soul.
Yeah. Yeah.
We need people like you in the world, Reagan.
Yeah, I try. But
yeah,
that's kind of what I do.
Yeah, alrighty. Well, Reagan, thank you so much for being on. You know, it's funny too, because Reagan goes to Stockton, and so do we. But Reagan's in Philly. When things were happening, Reagan was in Philly every day. We were on campus recording. So it's like it took Zoom for us to actually get to sit down and interview. Yes. Yeah. About time it happened. But yeah, I'm glad. Thank you so much.
Yeah,
Thank
thank
you.
you. And thank you for also participating in like all of our Q&As and like everything that we do and like supporting us. Cause like you like since the first day, you were like, oh my God, I listened to your podcast and it means so much to us and you're doing big things and we're proud of you.
Oh, thanks, guys. I'm proud of you guys too. You guys are killing it.
Thanks. Alrighty, everybody. Well, you can find Reagan. I'll links in the description to her social media if you want to follow her. But yeah, no, she's lit, and sports are lit. We miss you, sports. So we hope everybody continues to social distance so this ends. I mean, we're doing this until April 30th, so you gotta be diligent, y'all. I mean, right now, literally, if you're bored and you miss your friends, download Zoom. You can talk to them. Boom. That's
Yeah,
what we've
and
been
you can
doing.
play board games and card games online now. So
Mm-hmm.
no excuse to leave your house. I'm tired of looking at these walls. People, stay home.
Yes, please stay home because then we can all go out and continue to make more content. But hey, also too, this is like a little challenge. If there's anybody out there that makes content at home or somebody whose job got stopped because of it, please send them our way so we can try and interview them and give them a little time to talk about what they do, because that's what we're trying to do here at the Freelance Network. We want to shout out everybody who makes this lit stuff. So yeah, so thank you everybody for watching or listening, and we will see you soon.
When I've been about the traditional.
Now that's a pod.
Patience at a
We're in
minimum.
Club Drew, Jersey.
Yeah, but you gotta let it happen like a
That was for you,
ritual. My
Reagan.
main thing left and my side thing switched up. It's better that way. I was getting them mixed up. Main thing left, side thing switched up. It's better that way. I was getting them mixed up. Solo at the party, so I left with myself. If I needed what she needed.